Okay, so the first question is, when you were in China, did you eat octopus? Repeat the question.
Oh, so when I was in China, did I eat octopus? The answer is yes, but not very often. Usually family will not buy octopus, but we can eat that in the restaurant because there are not a lot of people know how to deal with octopus, how to cook them. It's kind of like a relatively new food in China, but we eat it. Yeah, just not very common.
Very interesting.
Mm.
Okay. And the next one is there a soda called Ramune? Or Ramune? I'm not sure if that's in China or in Rwanda.
How do you spell it?
Ramune.
Ramune?
I didn't hear of one in Rwanda. I mostly just saw like the Fantas, the sodas, waters, beer, things like that. But maybe there was.
Yeah, it sounds like a Japanese brand. It's probably we have that in China, but I never tasted it. I would love to try.
The next question is, what are your ages?
Oh, I'm 20 years old.
And I'm 19. Oh, sorry. I'm 19 years old for whoever asked how old we were.
Yeah, I'm 20 years old.
And then what were your favorite foods that you ate in your countries?
So what is your favorite food you eat in your own country? Oh, in Rwanda and favorite food?
I tried a lot of new things in Rwanda. I know when I was with my host family, they had like a stack of fruits in their kitchen, and they would always have it with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which was awesome because I love fruit. They mostly eat like pineapples and mangoes, things with thick skins, because the water quality in Rwanda isn't that good, so like it will seep into it and you might get sick. But with fruits like that, it doesn't do that. I tried this new fruit that I've never had before. It might be in the U.S., but I don't think it's as common. They called it a tree tomato. And then I looked it up, and its name is like a tamarillo, if anyone's ever heard of that. It looks like kind of like a tomato, and then I think it grows on the tree, which is why they call it a tree tomato. And when you cut it open in half, and then you like scoop out, kind of like a kiwi. And it was kind of like a mix between like a peach and like a plum. And it was really good, and it was really juicy, and it didn't have any like annoying seeds or anything. And I loved it. It's really good.
Oh, yeah. I would love to try that. Yeah. So as for me, my favorite food, the big category, is noodles. And my favorite specific noodles the name is egg and potato noodles. So you can feel it is very easy based on the name. So it's just you cook the fried tomatoes and eggs first. And after you boil your noodles, you just add what you've already cooked on the noodles as a top. It would be this is my favorite.
And the next one, somebody wrote, my college roommate was from China, and one time her mom sent us those popular in China.
Oh, so the question is, one of my roomies is Chinese, and one time her mother sent her green bean cookies. Is this common in China, right? I would say it is not very common because I never tried it before, but I think it should taste good. Usually, but I can understand that Chinese people are really creative on cooking and making cookies. So for me, my mother, she would love to try different kind of recipes even on the same dish. For example, the egg and the tomato noodles. She can cook it in like various different ways. So green bean cookies, I never tried them, but I think it will be good.
The next one's about chopsticks. So this person writes, I find it really challenging to eat with chopsticks. Can you demonstrate it for us?
Oh, wow, cool. So the question is, can I demonstrate how to use chopsticks for you guys? Can I borrow 2 pens?
Yeah. I know I can't use chopsticks. I've been taught so many times and I still can't do it. Even the training chopsticks.
Oh, so imagine these chopsticks. I can say that I'm very proud to say that I use the chopsticks very correctly. This is the traditional and official way to use chopsticks. So first you use back here, just this on the third finger and this. And then you put the here, the second. So you can use the index finger and the first and second finger to control this. So this chopstick will not move, and just use the upper one. Can you see it? So it's like this. It'll be very easy.
I have problem moving them. I don't have very good
because most
coordination, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people use chopsticks like this, which is also correct, but it's not that convenient.
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah,
you do it
correct.
Okay.
It's like this.
Okay, that'll work.
I love this question.
The next one is, do you think that people from China and Rwanda feel that we eat too much and unhealthfully?
I know in Rwanda, probably yes. Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting to repeat the question. So the question was, do you think people in Rwanda and China would think people in the U.S. eat too much and eat unhealthily? I would say in Rwanda, they would probably think that. Breakfasts were very light, and even compared to the U.S. for lunch and dinner, they were still light. They were just heavy in breakfast. And they eat very healthfully. They eat fruits instead of the sugary desserts we have. They do drink soda, but they walk everywhere, so it's okay. They eat a lot of starches, like potatoes and things like that, but they also balance it with vegetables and things, which we do here, but it's on a little different scale, I think. And also the income inequality there is different. Like, a lot of people can't afford too much food, so they would probably see the U.S.
I would say, because I'm Chinese, and from my perspective, I think American people eat kind of too much healthy food. In China, people don't eat cheese, which has high energy in it, but Chinese people don't eat it. And also, Chinese really love vegetables, but they don't eat raw vegetables very often. So you can see in US, people eat salad, which includes raw vegetables, but we don't like it. So we don't eat very often. So the most common food for us in US would be meat, but we don't eat fried fries, and also burger is not very popular in China. So I think, here people probably love food which have high energy and protein in it, but Chinese don't do that.
Yeah, in Rwanda, there's not many fried foods either, except French fries. And yeah.
Cool. Any other questions?
Do the food in your countries have a lot of preservatives?
So does food include a lot of preservatives in the country you visited?
In Rwanda, I would say so, because normally preservatives are used on a smaller scale if it's like local farming or things like that. In Rwanda, they have to do it like on a large scale most of the time, because it's the most like economically efficient. And to do that, they mostly grow tea and coffee, because those are their two major exports. And the climates are like prime for those two things. But I would assume they do use preservatives on it, pesticides, things like that. And then I also see, like, in the countryside, people have their own little farms, and I would assume those do not. But I didn't really study the environmental things, so I'm not positive, but I think that's what I get.
So from my observation, that's the same in China. It's like some food contains the preservatives in the food, and it's interesting that in China, in a bag of food, there is a small bag of preservatives. So after you take off the bag, you can see that bag, which consists of preservatives. So you can notice that, it has preservatives in it. But for some, like fresh, for example, like usually milk, if it says that you have to finish it before, like in 1 month or in 1 week, it doesn't include here because it's very short term. You have to finish very soon.
And number two, in Rwanda, they don't eat like a lot of junk food and things that would have preservatives in them. So even though it's like there, I don't think they're consuming as much as people in the US would be.
People in Rwanda and China eat salad.
So do people in Rwanda and China eat salad?
In Rwanda, they don't really, unless they want to take a risk or they're in like a more Western restaurant where they can guarantee that the salad is clean and made with fresh water and things like that. Because the water quality in Rwanda, like I said, isn't very good, so you have to eat things around them. And lettuce isn't one of those. Lettuce actually takes in a lot of water. So unless you're at like a Western kind of place or you're just feeling like a salad, which we did feel like a salad a lot because we had so many fries in Rwanda, we would eat it, but most people do not.
That's the same in China. People don't really eat salad because we love cooked vegetables. We don't eat raw ingredients very often, but you can definitely have it in almost any kind of like Western restaurants. And also, Chinese people eat the salads Chinese people eat are kind of like adapted American salad. So we don't have so many kinds of dressings like here. And the most popular dressing in China is Thousand Island. I don't know why, but this is the most popular dressing.
I've actually never had Thousand Island, but I heard it's good. So.
Next one is, what is your favorite and least favorite food from your country?
Yeah. So what is your least like food?
Yeah,
our least favorite foods in our countries. Let me think. There was a lot of different things I tried, so I'm not. I know. Okay, so we traveled a lot, like on a bus all together in Rwanda, and a lot of the times on the side of the roads, there's like quick little brochette places, like the skewer places and things like that. So we would get off, just grab one and go. I tried like that version, but it wasn't there were brochettes, but then there was also like corn on the cob, which I love. It's like my favorite thing ever, so I got it. And then it was actually really gross because like the kernels were really hard and it like looked roasted, but it just didn't taste like anything. And I was really confused if that was like generally corn in Rwanda or if it was just this place. I didn't really know. And then I also tried this thing with my host family. It was called something along the lines of like tachikoma, something like that. And it looked kind of like a frosty, like a chocolate frosty from Wendy's. Does anyone know what that looks like? Thumbs up if you do. Just like a thick chocolate smoothie ice cream kind of thing, except it didn't taste like that at all. It was made from sour gum, if you know what that is, which is just a plant that's grown there. And you like mix it with things and like boil it down, and then you make this drink out of it, and people normally drink it like at breakfast or lunch. I tried it and it wasn't. It tasted like I would expect something like sour gum to taste like, but it wasn't good. I like trying it though.
For me, it's kind of hard to answer this question. I never think about this question. But I would say that the food I would not often order will be dumplings. Usually, like dumplings is kind of popular in countries outside of China, but I don't really like it because when you eat dumplings, since you have to cook the inside ingredients together and then use the what's that?
So like wrapping of
wrapping it and boiled. So after you cook all of the dumplings, it kind of tastes the same. I don't like the plain flavor. I like various flavors in a dish. So dumplings would be my least favorite food.
Where do people buy their food? Do they go to supermarkets like we do here, or buy food? Where do they buy groceries?
So where do people buy groceries in our countries?
Yeah, I think first.
Oh, okay. So in Rwanda, it kind of depends. If you live in the capital where we did, I know there's the equivalent of like a supermarket here. You go in and there's like a whole variety of things, maybe even more variety than you would see here. They have like dish towels, like slippers. I think I saw robes. And then there was like the normal things like food, cereals, refrigerated items. They don't refrigerate their eggs in Rwanda, which I was freaking out. But then apparently most countries don't refrigerate their eggs. It's like a United States thing. So like, okay. So things like that. But then also, if you don't live in the capital, if you live in the countryside, which is most people, there's these markets that most people get to either by walking or by bus. We got there by bus. There was this market we always went to called Kimironko. And there would be like shops and clothing where we got our clothing made. But there will also be like a food section where there's all grown like vegetables and fruits and things like that. And I think most people probably get their produce from there.
So in China, we have a equivalent supermarket here. The name is vegetable market. The name is vegetable market, but actually it includes all kinds of like food ingredients and groceries. Also, the supermarket varies depend on the cities where you live, and it can be very small and it can be very large. But usually, there will be a vegetable market, or how to say, walkable 5-minute walkable distance where you live. So people can just go walk and buy the groceries they need. And now recently it's kind of popular for some people who live in cities go to the rural areas to pick up the vegetables by themselves once a week. So it's more expensive, but people feel like that is more organic and healthy. This is a newly living style. People go to faraway places to buy the groceries. Yeah.
Next one, is there very much processed food? Is there as much processed food as there is in the U.S.? And what about bread? Do you eat bread with your meals?
So the question is there as much processed food as there is in the U.S. in our countries? And what about bread? If we eat there? So I know in Rwanda, there is processed food, but most people don't eat it. Here, there's a lot of processed food. A lot of people eat it. I know I do all the time. But it's more expensive there because they import it. So most people don't get it anyway because it's healthier not to, and because
I scored.
And then bread, I know when I went to the supermarket, or just even small stores, they have like very like not the loaves of bread, but loaves of bread that's to be like recently baked, and they're like kosher bread, and they probably last less long because there's not as many preservatives on it. They probably would go bad within like a week or two. But one big loaf of bread, and then you make that with sandwiches and things like that. I didn't see any other kinds of bread like baguettes or like fancy breads we see here.
In China, I think bread is very common and popular. Usually people eat it for the breakfast, especially for students. In my previous university, we have a small supermarket in our school, and the typical breakfast for a college student will be breakfast and a yogurt. So that's what we basically eat every day. For other kinds of foods, bread, we also eat bun. It's kind of like bread, but it is more often show up in the dinner or lunch, but not in the breakfast. So that's.
And you reminded me with breakfast. I lived at a guest house with my friends, which is basically a hotel, and they made breakfast for us every morning. And there was like sweet bread or like sugar bread, and then there was like salt bread. And I wasn't sure if it was just like a guest house thing. When I went to my next day, they also did that kind of thing. So I'm assuming like the salt bread is maybe
change.
I forget which. I think I liked the sugar.
I know, don't you love it? Like
they eat those kinds of
things. Like it's $3.49, and you can.
So what do children eat cafeterias at
49 cents
in Rwanda
or whatever?
So the question is, what do children
make it eat? And they're like
in China and Rwanda? In Rwanda, I didn't interact with too many students, just like on the street passing by. Everyone, obviously, we look very different. We sound very different.
From the teacher.
So
I'm like, look.
I didn't ask them too much about what they ate, but I know with my homestay family, the son there, he was about 11. I think he was in the equivalent of 6th grade here. I know he brought his lunches to school, and they would just pack like a little meat sandwich for him and like some fruit, things like that. And from what I gathered in his school, they also have things like that in the cafeteria, fruit, not sandwiches, but like basic things you might find in the US, like pizza. Probably not things with a lot of protein or meat in it, but they do have vegetables and fruit, things like that, and pastas and fries.
So in China, for middle And high school students, they don't really eat at school because they go back to home for every meal every day. And for college students, for my previous university, we really had a lot of different choices of foods. It's really like how you eat at family. So every day, the dishes will vary. Usually, it's the same as I mentioned before: noodles, rice, and bun, and different vegetables, meats as the top. So typically, you choose the rice or noodles, and then you add whatever you want as the sides. So then this is a dish. This is a meal. And also, we have a lot of like seasoning food. So in the summer, we will have crab and any other kind of sea fish. But in the winter, we will have more like vegetable and inland meat. So that depends on which season you are in.
The last one.
During the day.
Would Americans be horrified by any of the foods eaten in China?
Okay, so the last question: would Americans be horrified at any of the foods eaten in China and Rwanda? Do you want to go first? I feel like China might have a few more.
Okay, cool. So one of the food is, I am not sure about the English name, but the direct translation would be smelly tofu. It smells really bad, really, really bad, but it tastes so good. So a lot of people were just scared by the smell, but because of the special cooking method, you have to preserve it for like a month and until it smells bad and add other ingredients. And also, this is kind of a traditional food. A lot of young people or people who live in city don't like it either. But people who live in the city where people make that tofu will love it. So I think American people will be really horrified by that.
I didn't really know of any when I first asked the question because in Rwanda, it's typical foods you would also see in the U.S. I thought maybe goat because we don't really eat goat that often. It's kind of weird. I've never had goat. But then you mentioned like smelly foods, and we were passing by like a produce place, and there was this like really smelly like fruit that had like spikes on it, but it doesn't like smell. Like cut it open. And all the people I was with were saying that it was like outlawed in America because of like how bad it was, and I never actually fact checked that, but that's what I heard because it smells so bad. Yeah. All right, so that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all for joining in and listening to us talk about foods and food practices in Rwanda and China. I hope you learned a lot and that you can compare some things you learned to things that you do in the U.S. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, we're very happy to share this with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Do I have